Good afternoon, everyone. I'm actually here to talk about customer experience from two lenses. One is our lens as an organization and the experiences we've had working with multiple organizations. And the second lens is, which always comes in interestingly, is my personal lens when I experience customer experiences from various organizations. It's like when I bought a red car, I thought every car on the road is red. So I started spotting that more. So when I got into this industry, I started spotting more and more instances where there was something that could be done with customer experience. Right? So I'll quickly get started. These are just some statistics, but the interesting point is that there are 3 or 4 macro parameters that have come into play. One is almost everyone believes that customer experience is going to be a key differentiator, and this includes various functions within an organization. We did a survey a few weeks back where marketing heads, CMOs, said that customer experience is something that they will actively look at. Customer loyalty remains paramount, multiple statistics, but the cost of acquiring versus retaining, there are multipliers that exist around that. And again, the biggest area that most organizations struggle with is how do you keep the cost to serve at the most effective level? Right? So these are things that organizations really focus on. This is a customer journey, right? And we all believe a customer goes from point A to point B to point C, and this is how they go from point A to point B to point C. But that's not really the case. When you look at customer journeys, they're extremely complex. All the data analytics tools, all the BI that you may do would tell you that Angira is going to behave in a certain way when a certain incident happens, but it's not true. I may at that moment completely jump from one pattern to the other. I may decide to pick up the phone and call. I may say, hey, I'm just going to send an email. I may decide to escalate to someone senior in the provider organization. I may just behave extremely randomly. And that's something that becomes an extreme challenge. So when you look at the journey, how do you ensure that your customers remain advocates for you? How do you build that up, right? There's a discovery journey, there's a purchase journey, and there's a life cycle that goes through the customer's mind. And there are many of these, right? And as you start looking at your customer base, they become multiple journeys, and there are infinite possibilities that exist around customer journeys. How do you deal with this, right? And we all believe, hey, this is how our customer is going to behave. This is how we invest in all the tech tools. We get very excited by some of the newer terms coming on. We invest in metaverse, but do we really get the ROI on those, right? Now, this is a photograph I took about 10 years ago before dual SIM phones had come into play, right? It was on the dashboard of a car in Hong Kong, and I found it extremely interesting. It's my personal photograph. I really found it very exciting. This gentleman had 7 phones, right? And I asked him, why do you have 7 phones? I realized he runs different businesses. Maybe he was gambling also on the side, which is why he needed 7 phones on his dashboard, right? But what it led me to believe, and if you start to look at your businesses, does one phone represent WhatsApp? Does another phone represent outbound voice, another inbound voice, SMS, and so on and so forth? Is that what it represents? And this is typically the map of customer journeys that come into play, where you have a mix, and we try to imagine what a customer journey would be. We try to integrate multiple channels, but in the process, the context gets lost a number of times. And that's where the challenge comes in. So if I were to use an example that I experienced a few weeks back, I wanted to apply for a credit card. I wanted a very premium metal credit card because I thought it'll improve my image when I walk into a restaurant. I applied for that card. I have been with that bank for years. And they again asked me for all my information, though I was calling them from what is called the registered mobile number. Right? Why did they have to call me? You know, they have all that information available. I got fed up because they were trying to sell me something else that I didn't want. Finally, I called up a friend. The friend got someone to call me, but in their database, that salesperson still kept on calling me because she wanted to hit her target. And she said, sir, please don't take it from your friend or whoever is connected to you. Please take it from me. Could the credit have been resolved more easily? Could it have been made easier? Because I jumped the journey, right? I decided to reach out to someone senior because I was getting fed up. Now, this is the other thing that happens. What does the customer say? Automation doesn't work, right? I'm sure you also heard that feedback from customers a number of times, And we're trying to figure out why doesn't it work, what's going wrong. But fundamentally, what happens is the channels are broken. So how do you solve for this? Is it a toss of the dice? Is it some crystal ball gazing? And we still tend to live in the world where we had a single SIM phone. Today that's changed. All of these have started to integrate. There are multiple channels that have come together. But we are still, maybe for historical reasons, we're very deeply embedded into tech that we really can't let go of. Or the cost of letting go of that tech is going to be significant, right? So therefore we stick to it, we keep on investing, which means we are deeper down the hole, right? And that's where a lot of organizations get stuck. So it fundamentally becomes, let's continue, let's hope the customers have no other choice and they'll remain with us. But that is also rapidly changing, right? So this is something that happens very actively, and this is something that we really work on. By the way, I hate the word vendor. I think it's something that is a term of the past. Today, any provider, any organization are actually partnering together to be able to work together, right? And the moment you treat an entity like a vendor, that entity is going to behave like a vendor, where means for a few lines of code, you will get charged $1 million. And you'll be forced to pay for it because you're very deep down the rat hole. You don't have a choice, right? But this is something that we do. And when you look at the whole BFSI space, how do you get various functions to come together? How do you have a single data pool, a data warehouse that gives you visibility of what is happening across all of these services? And that's when the customer experience really changes. And that's when you can actually realize the journeys. And this is a classic example that we have where I reached out onto a website, I got pinged by a bot, which gathered basic information, and realizing that the information I'm asking for is something specific, a call was set up. In that call, a specific agent came on board, walked me through the service, explained to me the service. A video call could be invoked, a phone call could be sufficient, documents could be exchanged, they could be exchanged over multiple channels. Another agent comes on board who helps me fill a form. Now, this is something very interesting, right? A few weeks back, another friend of mine advised me, Angira, you're getting old. Please start investing properly. Don't throw your money around. And he says, I said it's complicated. I don't trust the financial advisor that you have. He said, do it on your own. And he gave me a few pieces of advice. But when I went to a couple of mutual fund sites, I got completely confused. So I had to call up my friend again and ask him, what do I do? And he gave me a step-by-step guide. Now, I thought I was fairly financially savvy, but trust me, some of these sites are extremely complicated. And therefore, I realized I'm not financially savvy, or I don't really understand tech as much as I thought I do, right? But this is where an agent could help fill up the form. They could say, please put this information here, this information here. And the important thing is they don't have access or visibility to the information I am entering. So if I'm entering my Aadhaar card number, they can't see that, but they can see that I'm on that field, and they can advise me and guide me on what I need to do next, right? And when someone else comes into play, there's a complete information that exists about me. So when I'm calling up and saying, hey, I want a metal credit card, the person is not struggling to figure out who I really am, right? So this is where Exotel comes in. I have to spend 30 seconds doing the company pitch, but this is where Exotel comes in, where all of the elements come together. We have a unified platform, and this is where we have been transforming customer journeys over the years. We've been around for around over 18 years, and I've been meeting a lot of organizations in the last few weeks, and consistently this is something that I hear. Every time I say I want a reference, there's a positive response saying, yes, we are more than happy to provide you a public reference because of the work that you do in terms of integrating various channels. But fundamentally, whether it's communication APIs that you're looking at, whether it's contact center software that you're looking at, the brand is called Ameo, or whether it's conversational AI that you're looking at, the brand is called Cogno. All of these come together to be able to provide you a single platform. And these are some of the organizations that we work with, impact globally, but from India. So that's also something we're very proud of, that we are an India-out organization. Yesterday, we announced the opening of our physical presence in UAE. We already have a few hundred customers there, but we established our presence there. In the next few weeks, we will also be announcing presence across other parts of Southeast Asia. Right? A couple of interesting statistics that I wanted to pick up. Last year, we managed 10.7 billion voice calls. Fundamentally, it implies, along with the messaging that we do, that we have touched about 30% of Indians have experienced Exotel today. Now that's a very large statistic, right? Simple examples, you order food, you book a cab, when the call comes to you, the numbers are masked, that's Exotel. Right? So just to put it in context, an easy context that everyone would remember, that's what we do very well. Right? So these are some of the things that we do as Exotel. And yeah, thank you so much. That's it at my end.